I really struggle with this chapter. I don't think it's a good idea. Hi everyone, welcome to Learning God's Guidance 5678 with Audrey. If you're new, make sure you hit the bell and subscribe. We're reading the Bible from beginning to end. First time ever, new believer in 2022. So this is all brand new to me. I'm just sharing my thoughts as I read each chapter with you. And don't mind, I'm in my car today. Baby is asleep back here behind me, so let's cross our fingers he stays asleep while my other two are in the garage playing right there. So, okay, we're on Genesis chapter 16. We're just gonna dive right in. So I'm gonna read it, and it's pretty short, and then we're gonna go through what I take away from it, and hopefully whatever you hear me say, something might resonate with you. Maybe it won't, maybe it will. And if you have your own comments, make sure, and you wanna share them, comment below, okay? Because I'd love to engage with you. All right, so here we go. Genesis 16, you ready? I wrote it all. I don't have the app. This is the ESV version, so I wrote the chapter, so I'm just gonna read it from here. Okay, now Sarai, Abram's wife, had borne him no children. She had a female Egyptian servant whose name was Hagar. And Sarai said to Abram, "Behold, now the Lord has prevented me from bearing children. Go into my servant. It may be that I shall obtain children by her." And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai. So after Abram had lived 10 years in the land of Canaan, Sarai, Abram's wife, took Hagar, the Egyptian, her servant, and gave her to Abram, her husband, as a wife. And he went into Hagar, and she conceived. And when she saw that she conceived, she looked with contempt on her mistress. And Sarai said to Abram, "May the wrong done to me be on you. I gave my servant to your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, she looked on me with contempt. May the Lord judge between you and me." But Abram said to Sarai, "Behold, your servant is in your power. Do to her as you please." Then Sarai dealt harshly with her, and she fled from her. The angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur. And he said, "Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from, and where are you going?" She said, "I am fleeing from my mistress Sarai." The angel of the Lord said to her, "Return to your mistress and submit to her." The angel of the Lord also said to her, "I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude." And the angel of the Lord said to her, "Behold, you are pregnant and shall bear a son. You shall call his name Ishmael, because the Lord has listened to your affliction. He shall be a wild donkey. He should be a wild donkey of a man, his hand against everyone, and everyone's hand against him. And he shall dwell over against all his kinsmen." So she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her, "You are a God of seeing." For she said, "Truly here I have seen him who looks after me." Therefore the well was called Bir Lahairoi. It was between Kadesh and Bered. And Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called the name of the son who Hagar bore Ishmael. Abram was 86 years old when Hagar bore Ishmael to Abram. The end. Okay, so my thoughts are initially, like, I started reading this and I'm like, what? Like everything about, okay, they're gonna go ride their little bikes. Hold on one second. Okay, I'm back. Okay, so everything about this chapter just, I really struggle with it. I do, because I just don't think this was a good idea. I really don't. And I think it just shows how impatient we get as humans, right? When the Lord tells us to do something or says that XYZ is going to happen, and we have no clue how, right? Half the time we don't know how, especially if it's something so big. Like for Abram, it's like, you're going to have a son. He's like 86 years old, like, you know, and he's like, yeah, but my wife can't bear children. Like, how am I going to have this son? Like, you know, so I had a few initial thoughts, and then I kind of pondered a bit and thought, oh, okay, well, maybe that's why Abram actually listened to Sarai. But initially I thought, okay, did they talk about this and come up with this together? But rereading it, to me it sounds like Sarai came up with this idea, right? She's like, behold, now the Lord has prevented me from having children. So go into my servant. It may be that I shall obtain children by her. Like, here's an idea. And Abram listened to the voice of Sarai, so she brought it up, right? And she's probably, you know, also knowing that God has told Abram that he's going to have a son, and she knows she can't have kids. So she's like, well, how is he going to have this son? Let me be a part of this process, since they're married. And at the same time, like, I just don't think any good comes from suggesting someone else to be with your own husband. Like, there are natural feelings as humans that come into effect, right after, you know, like jealousy and stuff like that, right? So here, when she said, let's see, and he went into Hagar and she conceived, and when she saw that she conceived, she looked with contempt on her mistress. So the servant is like, okay, probably like, okay, I'm a servant, I do everything you tell me to do, and now I have to do what you're telling me to do and be with your husband, and now I got one up on you type thing, right? She's looking at her like, I conceived, like she's like rubbing it in her face, right? She's got this contempt look, like she's like, ha, did it, right? First try, or who knows how many tries, but right, like it's enough to really make Sarai very mad, understandably. But at the same time, like, this was your idea, you know? And when that kind of thing happens, when intimacy happens, like, it's an exchange. So I just feel like nothing good could come of this, really. I just was like, I don't understand that she thought that this was a good idea. But okay. And Sarai said to Abram, she said to Abram, may the wrong done to me be on you. So now she's mad that her mistress looked down upon her with contempt, right? And then now she's like, oh, heck no. Whatever you said to her or whatever happened between y'all when you're in there doing jiggy, like, this is on you, because in her mind, she's probably thinking, you should have, like, made it clear how this was going to be. And, like, she needs to be respectful to me that I'm even letting her do this, right? Kind of thing. Like, I just think of all the wrong, see how quickly it just went, just not good, right? And so now it's on you, Abram. May the wrong be done to me be on you. I gave my servant to your embrace, and when she saw that she had conceived, she looked on me with contempt. May the Lord judge between you and me. Like, this was our idea, right? Like, this is not, we agreed to do this. And so then Abram's like, yeah, behold, she's your servant. You have the power over her. Do it, whatever you please. And then it says Sarai dealt with her harshly and she fled from her. And I'm like, I wonder how she really dealt with her. What happened? It had to be pretty bad, like really bad, if the servant's like, I'm out of here, I'm running away. You know, like, it's just like, I don't know. I just don't think it was a good idea from the jump. Anyway, okay, then can you continue? The angel of the Lord found her by a spring of water in the wilderness, the spring on the way to Shur, and he said, Hagar, servant of Sarai, where have you come from and where are you going? So when I read that the angel asked her this, a part of me was like, you're an angel, like, you know already, right? Because you had to find her, so you already knew where she was, and you knew where she was going. Like, you guys know everything. That's what I was thinking. So I'm like, why ask such obvious questions, I guess? But I think it made a way for her to hear herself say it out loud. Anybody else like that? Like, you hear yourself say something out loud and you process it more. You're like, oh, like, you know. So maybe for her, the angel knew, like, if I make her say it, then, you know, she'll hear what she's really doing. I am fleeing from my mistress Sarai. And the angel of the Lord said to her, return to your mistress and submit to her. Oh, can you imagine how hard that must have been for her too, after who knows if she even wanted to do this from the jump, the servant, right? And then she's forced to do it, and then she gets scorned at for it, but she was also like not, you know, if you're gonna look at your you're gonna look at Sarai with contempt, then you probably had feelings about it, right? So I just don't think this was a good idea. Anyway, so return to your mistress and submit to her. So she's like, okay, she does, right? She goes back because the angel says, I will surely multiply your offspring so that they cannot be numbered for multitude. Basically, like, you're pregnant with a son, you're gonna bear a son, and you shall call his name Ishmael because the Lord has listened to your affliction. Okay, so because the Lord has listened to your affliction and all this, he will be a wild donkey of a man, his hand against everyone and everyone against him. I thought about this too, like, so she knows she's gonna have a son who's gonna be like wild, right? She's being told this, but because she sees the angel, wait, it doesn't say, I'm very literal, you guys, I know. And he said, Hagar, servant. The reason I said see is because later, you are a God of seeing. So she called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. You are a God of seeing. For she said, truly, I have seen him who looks after me. So that's what makes me think like the angel showed himself to her. It wasn't just like audible, like, you know, she saw the angel. And so she's got like, you know, that conviction in her to be like, yep, the Lord sent an angel. I've seen him who looks after me, so I must do what he says, right? So she goes back, but she knows she's gonna have this baby who's gonna be Ishmael, who's gonna be wild and have his hand against everyone, everyone's hand against him, and he shall dwell over against all his kinsmen, all his relatives and stuff, right? So it's like, huh? Knowing that too, that would be really challenging, I feel like, just in general for her. Anyway, therefore the well was called Bir Lahai Roy. I don't know, therefore, why that name? I don't know. If anyone knows, let me know below. And Hagar bore Abram a son, and Abram called the name of his son Ishmael. It came to pass, right? And Abram was 86-year-old. I wonder what that conversation was like. Like when she went back, she was like, okay, guys, I saw an angel. We have to call this baby. I'm pregnant. We have to call this baby. It's a boy. Like, you know, we got to call him Ishmael. The angel told me. She had to go back and face everything that took place. And I don't know what's going to unfold after this. I'm very curious to hear. I feel like I've heard Ishmael a little bit. I feel like there's a whole story to him later or something, which I don't know. So this will be interesting to unfold. But yeah, guys, this one just, I'm thinking, why? Like, and then I had the thought, okay, so I had the thought for Abram initially. Well, okay, let me start here. Sarai, this I felt like was a good example of how impatient we get as humans when God says he's going to do something and then we think it's going to be a certain way and it hasn't happened yet and we're frustrated, right? And then, so she comes up with this, maybe an idea she normally wouldn't have because she's in a state of impatience. She's not in a state of alignment, of trusting, right? So she comes up with her own human idea of which caused a bunch of problems, right? And then Abram, when he listened, so maybe he had an easy time, I don't know, maybe it was hard for him, maybe it was easy to listen to her and say, okay, yeah, that's a good idea, because in his mind he might have like, I have no idea how I'm gonna have this son, but I know I'm gonna have it, so maybe this is the way that God has set it up for me to have this son, because he knows that Sarai can't give me a child, but if it's Sarah's idea to use her servant, then I'll still have the son, right? But my brain thought initially, I'm like, I kind of want to go back and reread because I'm not sure, but my initial thought was, wait, but didn't he say that his son like was gonna be from Sarai? I don't know, unless I'm thinking about in the future chapters coming up that, you know, I do know that he ends up having one with Sarai too. Isaac, right? So again, I'm reading the Bible from the beginning to end first time, but it's not the first time I've read different chapters. Like, I've skipped around through the last year, but I don't have a full picture of like beginning to end. And God was calling me to do that, just go from beginning to end. Oh, my son is awake. So I'm curious to see how I'm gonna learn about everything that I kind of have an idea about, but not fully. So anyway, okay, yeah, so he thought maybe it's through this route that I get a son, and so he agrees, but he also could have said no if he knew that he was supposed to have it through Sarai. Then he also messed up by saying yes to this, you know what I mean? But I don't know. Anyway, yeah, and then just, I already said how Sarai blames Abram, right? May the wrong, you must have told her something. Why is she looking at me like that? And all that. That's all I got, guys. This one was a little rough for me. What? Okay, you want to get out? Yeah. All right. That's a wrap for Genesis chapter 16, y'all. Comment below. Let me know what your thoughts are. And share this with a friend. And if you haven't seen my videos on also how I'm memorizing scripture, I'm doing the whole first week of creation through movement. I'm dancing to scripture, because that's what I've always done, is dance and choreograph and stuff. And this is how I'm memorizing scripture. So I'm recording that process and sharing that on this channel as well. Those are all like the red thumbnails. So if you want to scroll through and check those out as well, I'd appreciate it. And yeah, hop on the ride. Let's study the Bible together. Click the bell, and I'll see you guys in the next chapter. Have a good one. Bye.